Kratos was born in Sparta, a city known for its fierce warriors and unrelenting discipline. Raised in a world where strength and power ruled above all else, Kratos grew into a warrior of unparalleled skill. From a young age, he was trained by battle, his body hardened through rigorous training and his mind forged by the brutal realities of war. As a Spartan, victory was the only option, and defeat was not an acceptable fate. His life was consumed by a thirst of conquest and glory. Driven by the relentless need to prove himself, Kratos rose through the ranks of Sparta's army, becoming a captain. But war, with all its bloodshed, left scars not only on the battlefield, but deep within his soul. He was a man tormented by ambition, blind to the destruction that followed in its wake. It was in a moment of desperation, facing a battle he was certain to lose, that Kratos made a fateful decision. Calling out to Ares, the god of war, Kratos sought divine intervention. He pledged his life and loyalty to the gods, asking for the power to defeat his enemies. Ares, sensing the potential in this mortal warrior, granted his wish. In exchange, Kratos became bound to Ares, serving as the god's instrument of war. Empowered by the strength of a god, Kratos became a force of destruction, feared across the lands. But with this new power came a terrible price. In his service to Ares, Kratos was compelled to carry out acts of unspeakable violence. His mind became clouded with rage, and in one tragic moment, he unwittingly destroyed the very people he loved most, his wife and child. This act, orchestrated by Ares, broke Kratos in a way no physical wound could. The weight of their deaths haunted him, and his body, once a symbol of strength, became marked as the ash of their remains. From that moment on, Kratos became known as the Ghost of Sparta, his pale skin a reminder of the burden he would carry forever. The loss of his family shattered Kratos' loyalty to Ares. He had been deceived, manipulated into becoming a tool for the god's own ambitions. With his soul filled with rage, Kratos swore to break the chains that bound him to Ares and seek vengeance for what had been taken from him. This new path led Kratos on a journey that would span both the mortal world and the realm of the gods. No longer a mere soldier, Kratos began his ascent towards something far greater and far more dangerous. He sought out the power of the gods themselves, determined to bring down Ares and end the torment that gripped his soul. Over time, Kratos faced challenges that tested not only his strength, but also his resolve. The path of vengeance is a treacherous one, often leading deeper into the darkness. Along his journey, Kratos crossed swords with gods, titans, and monsters of legend. His battles were fierce and his rage unrelenting. And yet, each victory left him feeling emptier, the weight of his actions compounding the guilt that burdened his heart. It was not just Ares that Kratos sought to destroy, but the chains of his own past, the choices that led him down this path of destruction. He yearned for freedom, not just from the gods, but from the anger and guilt that consumed him. And so, Kratos' journey of vengeance culminated in an epic confrontation with Ares himself, in a battle that shook the very foundations of the mortal and divine realms. Kratos defeated the god of war, exacting his revenge, but in the aftermath of his victory, Kratos still found no peace. The death of Ares had not eased the pain of his past, nor had it freed him of the ghosts that haunted him. To fill the void left by Ares, Kratos was offered the mantle of God of War. The gods of Olympus, impressed by his strength and determination, saw him as the natural successor to Ares' throne. Kratos, in his desperation for a sense of purpose, accepted the role, but even as a god, he was relentless. The power he now held could not mend the wounds of his soul. As the new god of war, Kratos wielded immense power, but he remained at odds with the gods of Olympus. His resentment towards the pantheon grew, fueled by his belief that the gods were indifferent to the suffering of mortals. His role as a god was not one of fulfillment but of obligation, and soon Kratos began to question the very nature of the gods themselves. This internal struggle led Kratos' rebellion against the gods of Olympus. No longer willing to be their pawn, he sought to dismantle the very system that had caused so much pain and suffering in his life and the lives of other people. His rage, once directed at Ares, now turned towards Zeus, his own father. The conflict between Kratos and the gods would lead to a war unlike any other, with Kratos determined to bring an end to the tyranny of the gods. After years of fighting and destruction, Kratos' journey took an unexpected turn. Fleeing the ruins of Olympus and the bloodshed of his past, Kratos found himself in a new land, far to the north. This was the realm of the Norse gods, a land of towering mountains, vast forests, and new challenges. Here, Kratos sought a life of quiet solitude, hoping to leave behind the ghosts of his past. But Kratos was no longer alone. In this new chapter of life, he became a father once more. His son, Atreus, was born into a world far different from the one Kratos had known. Together, they lived in the wilds, far from the eyes of gods and men, and Kratos dedicated himself to raising a son in a way that he had never experienced himself. Fatherhood for Kratos was both a gift and a burden. His heart, once consumed by rage, now carried a new kind of responsibility, the responsibility to guide Atreus and protect him from the dangers of the world. But the past is not easily escaped, and Kratos soon found himself drawn into the affairs of the Norse gods. As he and Atreus embarked on a journey through these foreign lands, Kratos was forced to confront his past and the man he had been. He could no longer rely on violence alone, for he knew that his son watched his every move. Through his relationship with Atreus, Kratos began to learn that strength was not only measured in battles, but by the resilience one could show. He taught his son not just how to wield a weapon, but how to navigate the complexities of life. In doing so, Kratos found a new path towards redemption.